My wife accidentally sent me her Vegas ticket with another man, so I stayed silent, and the moment she landed, her entire life fell apart. It happened on a Wednesday morning. I, 35, male, was at my desk, half awake, scrolling through work emails when a new notification popped up on my screen. Your flight confirmation. Las Vegas, 2 passengers. At first I thought it was spam. Then I saw the sender's name, Cassandra, my wife. I opened it and stared at the details. 2 tickets, round trip, Vegas. Passenger 1, Cassandra Dalton. Passenger 2, Keith Walsh. She'd accidentally CC'd me. For a solid 10 seconds, I just stared at the screen, rereading it like maybe it would change the 4th or 5th time. Nope, same details, same dates, same Keith Walsh. Then I laughed. Not the crazy kind, more like that dry, quiet laugh when your brain's processing too much at once. Cassandra, my wife of 7 years, had just booked a Vegas getaway with another man and accidentally sent the receipt to me. I didn't delete it, I archived it. Receipt number, confirmation code, flight times, all saved. Then I did something that most guys probably wouldn't. Absolutely nothing. I didn't call her. I didn't storm into the kitchen demanding answers. I went on with my morning like nothing happened. Because that's the thing about people like Cassandra. They're predictable when they think they're in control. Our marriage on paper looked fine. We had a good house, decent jobs, no kids, 2 cars, and a shared credit setup. Primary plus authorized user. I was the primary. She was the authorized. She loved that card. The one with the shiny silver finish she'd flash at brunch like it was proof of her financial independence. But the truth was, all her spending power came from me. I paid the bills. I handled the accounts. She just used them. She never noticed I got alerts for every large purchase, the kind she'd make after Pilates. Speaking of Pilates, that was her latest obsession. Pilates, yoga, girls' nights, and suddenly hanging out with people I'd never heard of. Her old friends had real jobs and lives. These new ones seemed like ghosts. Always Aubrey this and Chelsea that. I never met either of them. The thing is, Cassandra was always a little self-absorbed. She'd call it confidence. I called it delusion. She genuinely believed the world bent around her, that she could do whatever she wanted and people would just accept it. I opened my banking app, looked at the list of active cards, and smiled. She had no idea how much control I actually had. She thought being authorized made her equal. It didn't. It made her dependent. That email changed everything. When she came downstairs later, dressed in her work outfit and holding her iced coffee like a trophy, I played along. "Morning," she said casually, pecking me on the cheek. "Big day today. I've got a client lunch at 2. Busy, huh?" I said. "Try not to max the card before dinner." She smirked. Funny. I smiled back. Calm, even polite. She had no idea I already had her Vegas itinerary saved in a hidden folder on my desktop. Later that day, I forwarded the email to my personal account, printed it, and filed it away in a plain envelope labeled house stuff. That's what she always called anything she didn't want to deal with. House stuff, work stuff, money stuff. Ironic how those were the same things keeping her life together. That night, I noticed she was extra nice. Made my favorite dinner, laughed a little too loud, kissed my cheek twice. Probably guilt. Or maybe she was testing how much she could get away with. Either way, I let her. When she went to bed, I stayed downstairs, opened my laptop, checked the confirmation again. Vegas, 2 weeks away. The hotel confirmation was in the same email thread, under Keith's last name, 1 king bed, 2 guests. No mention of any girls' weekend anywhere in sight. I started a new folder on my computer, Cassandra Backup. Inside, I saved screenshots of every document. Step by step, I started quietly building an escape plan. Not out of emotion, but logic. Because when people like Cassandra cheat, they assume you'll blow up. They count on it. They expect tears, shouting, chaos. They never expect silence. Before I went to bed, I looked at her sleeping on the other side, perfectly still, peaceful, clueless. I thought about how easy it was for her to pretend. That's when I made my decision. I wasn't going to confront her. Not now, not yet. I was going to watch, learn, prepare. She wanted Vegas. She could have it. But when she got there, she was going to find out what happens when you build your whole life on someone else's dime and then forget who holds the account. This time, Cassandra wouldn't just lose my trust. She'd lose everything that depended on it. The next morning, I called Carrington, my friend who happened to be a lawyer downtown. He'd always joked that I was too patient for my own good. Turns out patience was about to pay off. Carrington. Hypothetically, I said over coffee, if someone's spouse accidentally sent them proof of an affair, what's the smart first move? He didn't even hesitate. Secure your finances. Quietly. Don't tip her off until you've got leverage. That word stuck in my head. Leverage. I'd always played the calm husband, the dependable one. Cassandra saw that as weakness. She was about to find out it wasn't. That afternoon, during lunch at my office, I opened a new private checking account in my name only. I didn't move everything at once. That would have raised alarms. Instead, I started transferring small, forgettable amounts from the joint account over a few days. 50 here, 200 there. Enough to look like grocery runs or gas charges. Next, I adjusted the limits on her authorized card. I lowered her daily limit just a notch. Enough to keep things looking normal so nothing would decline while I quietly tightened everything behind the scenes. She kept swiping like nothing changed, not realizing she was slowly losing access to everything. I even tested it. I bought lunch using the main account, then opened her card app and set a temporary block for an hour. Right after that, she texted me, "Hey, weird question. Is the bank acting up again?" My card declined at Target. I waited a few seconds, toggled the block off, and replied, maybe try again later. 2 minutes later, she said it worked. She didn't even ask after that. No suspicion, just shrugged it off like she always did when technical stuff happened. That's when I realized how easy this was going to be. Later that week, she had what she called book club night, her favorite excuse lately. The same group of girls she apparently discussed novels with, but never brought any books home from. She was getting ready in the mirror, humming, doing her makeup like she was heading to an audition. New perfume. Heels that didn't look book club appropriate. "Where's it at this time?" I asked casually. "Chelsea's," she said. "Don't wait up. It might go late. We're talking about that memoir I told you about." "Oh yeah," I said. "The one about boundaries and self-love." She smiled in the mirror like I'd complimented her intelligence. "Exactly. See, you remember." When she left, I sat down on the couch, pulled up Instagram and typed Chelsea. Her most tagged friend popped up instantly. Top post 15 minutes old. A photo of palm trees and the caption, "Florida sunsets hit different." Florida. Not even in the same time zone. I scrolled through a few more stories. Hotel pool selfies, beach cocktails, sun hats. Definitely not the location of any book club. So Cassandra was lying again. Nothing new. What mattered was how I responded. I stared at the message thread with her for a second, then typed, "Drive safe." 3 dots. Then a heart emoji. That was all I needed. She still thought I was in the dark. The next morning, she acted like nothing happened. Kissed my cheek, made herself coffee, and started rambling about how her book club might take a break soon because everyone was so busy. Busy, right. That weekend, she brought up the Vegas trip. She waited until I was half distracted with the TV to drop it like it was casual. "So the girls are planning a weekend in Vegas next month," she said, leaning against the counter. "Just 2 nights. Spa, shows, pool, nothing crazy." I muted the TV. "Sounds fun. You should go." Her eyes lit up. That fake surprised expression she used whenever things went too smoothly. "Really? You're okay with it?" "Sure," I said, smiling faintly. "You deserve it. You've been so stressed lately." That one line sold the act. She relaxed instantly, like she just convinced a security guard she had a valid pass. For the next 2 weeks, I let her prepare. She shopped for new clothes, got her nails done, started talking about packing light. Every time she mentioned Vegas, I nodded, half listening like it was the most ordinary thing in the world. Meanwhile, I finalized my own checklist. Private account, done. Card limits, set. My half of the joint savings, quietly moved. Legal documents, copied. The last thing I did was buy a small notebook. On the cover I wrote one word, timeline. I documented everything. Not because I needed proof for court, though it would help, but because it made the plan real. I went upstairs that night and found her suitcase half-packed on the bed. Swimsuits, new dresses, makeup, a book she'd probably never read. The props of a woman pretending her life was under control. She thought she was running a game, but the difference was I'd already written the ending. Friday morning, 7:12 a.m. Cassandra was already in full performance mode, smiling, humming, moving around the house like she was heading to a dream vacation, not a setup. She had her luggage out, a coffee in hand, and that fake cheerful tone people use when they think they're untouchable. "Can you believe I actually get a weekend to relax?" she said, adjusting her sunglasses in the mirror. "Just me and the girls' spa shows, maybe a little shopping." "Sounds great," I said, keeping my voice calm and casual. You deserve it. She grinned like she'd won something. You're the best. You know that? I nodded, watching her check her phone between every sentence, probably waiting for a text from Keith. Can you call me an Uber? She asked, pretending to rummage for her charger. The app's acting weird. We'd planned that I'd drive her myself, but she pivoted that morning and wanted an Uber instead. Sure thing. I opened mine and booked it without hesitation. She didn't notice the slight smirk on my face when I entered the destination, O'Hare International. She wheeled her suitcase toward the door, all smiles and perfume. I'll text you when we land, she chirped. I'll be waiting, I said. The Uber driver honked once outside. She leaned in, kissed my cheek and whispered, Don't miss me too much. Oh, I won't, I said with a small grin. She didn't catch the tone. She just laughed, waved, and walked out the door like she was starring in her own movie. As soon as the car turned out of the driveway, I closed the door, pulled out my phone, and opened the flight tracker. Her flight to Vegas departed at 9 a.m. sharp. I had about 2 hours before showtime. While she was waiting at the gate, probably texting Keith about seat upgrades and pool plans, I was at my desk reviewing my checklist. Private account secure. Evidence folder backed up. Legal contact ready. Final step. Financial shutdown. At 9:04, her plane took off. I watched the blue dot inch across the map. Every mile west was another step toward her lesson. When the tracker finally said landed, Las Vegas, Nevada, I took a breath, opened the banking app, and started the operation. First, her authorized card, freeze account. A tiny confirmation pop-up appeared. Are you sure? Yes, I was sure. Then the joint checking, changed the online banking password, removed her mobile access, and quietly moved my half into my private account. After that, I updated the digital wallet, wiped her from Apple Pay, and shut down the backup card she thought was hers. It took less than 10 minutes. 7 years of financial control, gone from her fingertips with a few taps. I leaned back in my chair, opened my text messages, and typed slowly. Hope you and Keith enjoy Vegas. Send. I locked my phone and waited. 5 minutes later, buzz. Then again. Then non-stop. First came the texts. What are you talking about? Wait, what did you do? My card isn't working. This isn't funny. Then the calls started, one after another. I didn't answer any of them. I just watched her name light up the screen, watched it fade, then light up again. By the 5th missed call, I got another message. You don't understand. It's a mix-up. Please pick up. Mix-up. That was her word for everything she couldn't explain. And another text, longer this time. I'm at the hotel. They're saying my card got declined. Keith's trying to figure it out. Just tell me what's happening. Please. Keith's trying to figure it out. Interesting choice of words. 10 minutes later, did you freeze the account? Why would you do that? I'm stranded here. I took a sip of coffee, calm as ever, and replied, You'll figure it out. You're good at pretending, remember? After that, I silenced the notifications. An hour passed before curiosity got the better of me. I reopened the messages. There were over 40. The tone had changed from anger to panic. Please, I can't even book a flight back. Keith's card isn't working either. I need help. Please. Later I found out why. He'd been putting personal charges on his company card. The hotel flagged it and refused it for non-business use. Perfect timing. I pictured her standing there in that over-the-top designer outfit, realizing her backup plans were crumbling. Keith probably looked just as shocked. Two people who built their whole little fantasy on other people's money, now stuck in a hotel lobby with useless cards. Eventually, she stopped calling. Maybe she finally accepted I wasn't coming to the rescue. Maybe she was too busy begging Keith for help. For the first time in weeks, I felt light, like all the noise had gone silent. Around 3 p.m., my phone buzzed again. This time a new message. I'm coming home. I can explain everything. No, you can't, I thought. Not anymore. That night, while she scrambled to find a flight back, I sat in my recliner, watching the same little blue tracker line move east again. Every mile closer wasn't her returning home. It was her walking straight into the consequences she thought she'd never face. By the time that plane landed, Cassandra wasn't coming back to her husband. She was coming back to a man who had already finished the game she didn't even realize she was playing. And for the first time since that accidental email, I smiled. Not because she was hurt, but because everything was finally in motion. Meanwhile, in Vegas, Cassandra's fantasy trip was falling apart faster than her fake book club stories. Funny enough, one of my old college buddies worked security at that same hotel. He texted me later. He'd watched a woman who looked exactly like Cassandra melt down at check-in after her card got declined. She argued with the guy she was with, then he walked out and left her standing there. From what my friend saw, Keith wasn't some charming getaway partner, just another broke guy with an ego problem who bailed the second things got real. My friend said they argued in the lobby. She pressed him to cover it. He pushed back about budgets. Then he walked out and left her there. So much for Vegas luxury. By 3 p.m., Cassandra was in full panic mode, calling banks, trying to reach me, crying in hotel bathrooms. But when the primary account holder, that's me, freezes everything, customer service can't help you. After her 10th failed call to me, she switched targets, her mother. Margaret was a tight-fisted woman who still complained about lending Cassandra money for her wedding hair 7 years ago. Cassandra knew the call was going to be brutal, but she had no choice. My buddy caught snippets of the call, accusations about gambling, Cassandra insisting it was a misunderstanding, and Margaret finally wiring just enough for a one-way flight with plenty of strings attached. By the time the wire transfer went through, Cassandra was emotionally wrecked, humiliated, broke, and furious. The glamorous Vegas adventure she bragged about for weeks ended with a middle seat on a budget airline and a mother who wouldn't stop reminding her she was a disappointment. While all that chaos unfolded 1,700 miles away, I was having a remarkably peaceful day. I took my time, ate breakfast, fed the dog, then sat down with a cup of coffee and called Carrington. "You ready?" he asked. "More than ready," I said. "Good. Bring the documents by today and we'll file." By noon I was downtown, sitting across from him in his office as we reviewed everything one last time. The man was grinning like he just watched a live episode of Poetic Justice. "You've covered every base," he said, flipping through the file. "No joint property risk, clean financial separation, documented proof of infidelity. This will be quick." "Good," I said. "I like quick." As we finished signing, my phone buzzed on the desk. 20 new messages from Cassandra, none opened. "Still stranded?" Carrington asked. "Probably boarding," I said. "Flying coach on her mom's dime." He chuckled. "You're enjoying this." "Not enjoying," I said, standing up. "Just finishing what she started." By the time I got home, it was evening. I'd made dinner, cleaned the kitchen, and was halfway through a movie when the door opened. Cassandra stepped inside, like she was returning from a battlefield. Her hair was a mess, makeup smudged, suitcase dragging behind her with a broken wheel. She dropped it hard enough to rattle the floor. "How could you do that to me?" she snapped. I muted the TV. "Do what? Stop funding your vacations? You left me stranded," she yelled. "I had no money, no way home, nothing." "You had Keith," I said calmly. "What happened to him?" Her face twitched. He couldn't help. His card wasn't working either." "Huh," I said. "Sounds familiar." "That's not funny," she cried, voice cracking. "You ruined my life." "No," I said, standing up slowly. "You ruined it yourself. I just stopped covering it up." Tears started rolling down her face, but I didn't move toward her. I'd seen that act before. This time it sounded like background noise. "It was a mistake," she said softly. "I got carried away. It didn't mean anything." "Was that before or after you booked plane tickets in his name?" I asked. She froze. "Or maybe during those fake book-to-club nights when you were at his place. I've got receipts for those too." Her jaw dropped. "You were spying on me." "No," I said. "You were just sloppy. Emails, credit charges, travel confirmations. You practically did my homework for me." She started sobbing harder. Then she whispered, "Please don't tell his wife." I tilted my head. "Funny you mentioned that." Her eyes widened. "What do you mean?" "I already did." She went completely still. "You didn't." "I did," I said, grabbing my phone from the counter. "Sabrina Walsh, divorce attorney, smart woman. She's handling it beautifully." Her face went white. She covered her mouth with her hands like she could physically hold back the panic. "What did she say?" "She thanked me," I said. "Apparently she's been suspicious for a while. She's not wasting time either." Cassandra sat down on the couch like her knees gave out. For once, she didn't have a comeback or a lie ready. Her voice came out small. "I just wanted to feel happy again." "You could have done that without wrecking our marriage," I said. "But you wanted excitement. Well, now you've got it." She looked up at me, eyes red, mascara running. "What happens now?" "Now," I said, walking toward the stairs, "I move on. You figure out the rest." I left her sitting there crying, shaking, muttering something about how Keith wasn't answering her calls. By the time I reached the top step, I could hear her sob quietly into her hands. She came home looking for sympathy. What she found was accountability. The next few days were like watching a slow-motion collapse that didn't even need my help anymore. Cassandra was spiraling. She stayed in the guest room for 2 nights, crying loud enough for the neighbors to hear, then finally packed up and left to clear her head. I didn't ask where she was going. I already knew. She'd run to her mom's. By the 3rd day, my phone buzzed with a text from an unknown number. "I hope you're happy. Mom won't stop yelling at me about the money. She says she wants it back today." Of course she did. Margaret didn't even let her daughter borrow a casserole dish without collateral. Later that afternoon, another message. "Can we at least talk like adults? I'm trying to make things right." I ignored it. She wasn't trying to make things right. She was trying to survive the consequences. While Cassandra was getting hounded for repayment, the rest of the dominoes started falling, specifically on Keith Walsh. When I told Sabrina the truth, I figured she'd leave him quietly. I underestimated her. Sabrina was a divorce lawyer, and not just a decent one, relentless one. Within 48 hours, she'd opened a file, preserved statements, and kicked off an internal audit request with his employer. Turns out Mr. Yoga Studio Romeo had been using company funds for personal trips, Vegas included. A week later, he was suspended. After that, Sabrina moved fast. She filed for divorce citing adultery, financial misconduct, and breach of trust. She locked down the house, most of the liquid assets, and secured temporary primary custody of their kids. By the time the final decree was signed, Keith was left with almost nothing. I didn't hear any of this from Cassandra. I heard it from Sabrina herself. She called to thank me. "Honestly," she said, her tone sharp and satisfied, "you did me a favor. I'd suspected for months. Now I have everything I need." I told her she didn't owe me anything. "Oh, I know," she replied, "but I'll still send you a thank you card once I'm done taking his last dollar." She wasn't joking. The next morning, my phone rang with a Miami area code. I answered, curious. "You think you're clever, huh?" Keith snapped. "Depends who's asking," I said. "You ruined my life," he shouted. "You had no right to call my wife." "Actually," I said, leaning back in my chair, "I had every right. You were sleeping with mine." "It wasn't like that." "Oh, so it was a different kind of affair." "Enlighten me." Silence. "You don't understand," he finally said. "Sabrina's taking everything. My job's gone. My accounts are frozen." "Wow," I said flatly. "That sounds awful. Can't imagine what that feels like." "You set me up." "No," I said. "You set yourself up. I just turned on the lights." He started shouting again, but I hung up before he could finish. That was the last time I ever answered his call. Later that week, Cassandra showed up at the house again, unannounced. I saw her car pull into the driveway. Her mom was in the passenger seat, still scolding. "You said you'd pay me back." "I'm not a charity, Cassandra." "I will, Mom. Can you just give me 5 minutes to breathe?" "5 minutes? Then I'm coming in." I stood there, arms folded, as Cassandra turned toward me. Her face pale, hair messy, eyes red, like she hadn't slept in days. "We need to talk," she said softly. "About what?" "About us." I raised an eyebrow. "Us ended the moment you booked 2 tickets to Vegas." I made a mistake. "Yeah," I said. "You made several." She stepped closer, trying to sound sincere. "Can't we at least sit down? You were my best friend once." I almost laughed. "Your best friend? You mean the guy who paid for everything while you played house with someone else?" Tears welled up again. "Please. I just want to talk things out. Maybe counseling or just a second chance." "Counseling?" I repeated. "Cassandra, you didn't want to fix anything. You just want someone else to clean it up. You always have." She looked like I'd punched her, but it was the truth. "I didn't think you'd actually go through with this. That's because you never thought I'd stop protecting you." She nodded slowly, turned back toward the car, and muttered something to her mom. Margaret didn't even try to comfort her, just kept reminding her about the money. I watched them drive off. She'd gambled our marriage on someone who didn't even cover her hotel bill. By evening, I got a text from Sabrina. He signed everything. "Thank you again." I stared at it for a moment, then typed back, glad to hear it. That night, sitting in the quiet, I realized something. The version of me Cassandra thought she could manipulate, the calm, forgiving pushover, was gone. She might still try to reach that man someday, but he doesn't exist anymore. She killed him the day she hit send on that accidental email. It was a Tuesday morning, slow at first. I was finishing up reports when my receptionist's voice crackled through the intercom. There's a woman here asking for you." Says it's urgent. Describe her, I said. She's crying, or maybe sweating. Hard to tell. Says her name's Cassandra. Of course she is. Send her in. A few seconds later, Cassandra marched through the glass door like a storm that didn't know where to land. Eyes swollen, hair a mess, clutching her purse like it contained the last of her pride. We need to talk, she said, loud enough for the office to hear. Heads were already turning. I stood up slowly. You can make it quick. Some of us actually have jobs to keep. I know you're angry. Angry? I cut her off. Cassandra, that would require me to care. I just want to talk privately. I nodded toward the conference room. Fine, 5 minutes. After that, I have real work. Once inside, she shut the door. The glass walls gave just enough privacy, but not enough to scream without people noticing. I could tell it bothered her. She always needed an audience. She started with begging, then flirting, then threats. If you go through with this divorce, you'll regret it. You'll be alone, bitter, and everyone will think you abandoned me. I gave a short laugh. You mean they'll know I stopped paying for your vacations? I'll risk it. Then she said it, casual as hell. There were others before him. It didn't hurt. I'd run out of hurt weeks ago. It just confirmed everything. You're not confessing, I said quietly. You're bargaining. Silence. Then the knock. Miles from Carrington's process server stepped in holding a sealed manila envelope. Mr. Dalton, he said politely, then looked at Cassandra. Mrs. Dalton? She frowned. Yes. He handed her the envelope. You've been officially served. Her hands froze. You're serving me here. In your office seemed appropriate, I said. Less travel time. Through the glass, CO workers were openly watching now. Cassandra flipped through the pages, face going pale as she realized what it was. You can't do this, she said weakly. I already did. You'll regret this. I swear you will. I tilted my head. Regret? I just upgraded my life plan. You'll be nothing without me, she shouted. Cassandra, I said, calm half smile. You've mistaken chaos for importance your whole life. You didn't make me. You just slowed me down. Security appeared at the door. It's fine, I said. She was just leaving. Cassandra glared one last time, grabbed her purse and stormed out. The office stayed silent for a full 10 seconds after the door slammed. 6 months later, my life looked completely different. Not just cleaner, but quieter. The kind of quiet that feels like oxygen after years of holding your breath. The divorce was finalized the week before. I kept the house, the savings, and most importantly, my peace. Cassandra had moved back in with Margaret, which was poetic justice all by itself. Margaret still reminded her about the Vegas money at least twice a day. Keith was sleeping in a friend's garage. And Cassandra? Keith had ghosted her completely. The man she risked everything for didn't even stick around to watch her fall. It would have been poetic enough to end there, but Cassandra wasn't done writing her own disasters. Saturday afternoon, I was mowing the lawn when her mother's silver Toyota pulled into the driveway. She stepped out wearing sunglasses and a shaky fake smile. You're trespassing, I said. I just need 5 minutes. You used those up 6 months ago. I'm pregnant. Silence. I'm pregnant, she repeated, and we need to talk about what this means for us. There is no us. And if you're implying it's mine, you better have a DNA test in hand. Her confidence cracked. You don't believe me? I do know you, I said. That's why I need a test. You're heartless. I'm consistent. She tried one last time. I'm not leaving until we talk. Then I'll make it simple. I pulled out my phone. 10 seconds to get off my property or I call the police. You wouldn't. 10, 9. She spun around, stormed back to the car. You'll regret this, she yelled. You said that last time, I called after her. Still waiting. She peeled out of the driveway. I watched until the car disappeared. The silence afterward was perfect. Inside, I poured a cup of coffee, looked around my house, and it hit me how different everything felt now. No pretending, no fake smiles, no double life humming beneath the surface. Just peace. Cassandra had gambled everything on lies and almost convinced herself she could win. But the thing about liars is they never realize when the game's over. I didn't have to destroy her. I just stopped protecting her.